community, part of our tribe. Today, we are going to talk about something I see a lot of couples struggle with. One of the few things I would say all couples struggle with, and that's setting boundaries. That's setting boundaries. You know, to us, when we set a boundary, it's intuitive. It just makes sense to us. But our spouse seems to be doing something completely the opposite, and you love us. Why would you do that? And it's hurtful, and it seems like they're just disrespecting you. They understand it like you do, and for some reason, they're just not doing the right thing. So, boundaries. Boundaries. If you got any questions about boundaries, just go to the browser. I'll do my best to answer them. So, the first thing I want to say about boundaries is couples hire the same and marry the opposite. Couples tend to hire the same and marry the opposite. You heard that right. Think about you and your spouse. You are probably different in some major ways. If you are the same in every way, I want you to go to the browser and type in the same. If you're not the same in every way, type in not the same. If you're majorly different on some important things, type in different. Type in different or even opposite, right? So, what I'm trying to do today is help you set boundaries that are complementary. Complementary, where we both take into account the other person's point of view and how they're wired. Okay, so I'll give you an example. When it comes to friends, think about you. Some people have a dollar bill. Some have two 50-cent pieces. Some have four quarters. Some have 20 nickels. Some have 10 dimes. Some have 100 pennies. Me, I'm more like, I'm honestly more like, okay, I'm not 100 pennies, but I'm more like 20 nickels. And so when you are married to somebody, you're 20 nickels and they're two silver pieces, they're going to say, all these people aren't even your friend. All these people aren't even your friend. And you need to set boundaries. You need to get rid of them, right? You need to let them go. You got too many people. And the other person is like, but all these people serve a different purpose for me. All these people serve a different purpose. Like if I have a tax problem, I call George. If I have a weight problem, I call Judy. If I have an interior decorating problem, I call Bob. Some people, they get everything they need out of one, two, three, or four people. And so when these two people marry each other, it's a problem because you're setting boundaries that don't work for that person. So let's say I get a real introverted person who has two 50-cent pieces and they're married to somebody that has 20 nickels. And they're like, you need to get rid of all these friends. They're shallow relationships. They don't even mean nothing to you. It's a problem. So the problem is a couple ways this happens. First of all, the problem is you're introverted, they're extroverted. They want to come home and talk to you, and you're somewhere chilling, doing your own thing because you need to recharge your batteries, right? And they need to interact with people. So being an introvert and an extrovert, the difference is how you recharge your battery. Extroverts, type this in the browser. Do you recharge your battery with people or solitude? Introverts, you recharge your batteries with people or solitude? So we're wired in different ways, right? So an introvert comes home, they probably need 60, 90 minutes to recharge. Extrovert comes home, they want to recharge with you, their spouse. Get some amens out there. Get some amens out there, right? So we're trying to create a boundary. That's the first problem is we're wired different. The second problem, if you make an extrovert who's wired with people get rid of all these friends, you're going to have a lot of blood on your hand. And most of these friends, they've worked through the whole thing, especially if they're cross sex, opposite sex. they've worked through, or same sex if you're gay, they've worked through those. I know I'm gonna get a lot of heat on that one, but they've worked through these issues. They're already friends. It's the new person that they ain't getting rid of after they got rid of 10 people. So now you have a problem, and it's difficult to cut a deal because they think you're making them get rid of all their friends. They may not be all deep friendships like you're saying, but everyone doesn't have just deep friendships. Some people have very shallow friendships. So that is the first thing about boundaries is we all have different boundaries. So I'll tell couples. Some couples is an ex text you. Some is you returned it with a call. Some is you met for lunch. Some is you hugged at lunch. Some is you kissed at lunch. Some is you went to dinner. Some is boy you guys stayed up and went to breakfast. Some is not only did you kiss them, you had sex with them. Some is you had sex with them, but you didn't invite me. Some is you had sex with them, you invited me, but you liked them more. I'm making the point that we all have different boundaries because we hire the same and marry the opposite. So, what I'm saying to you, the only way to really settle a boundary issue is to cut a deal. And it has to be a win win. It can't be a win lose, a lose win, or a lose lose. Anything but a win win is a lose lose. Does that make sense? To cut a deal, we got to create a win win. But to create a win win, y'all ain't going to like this part. We have to give up something important to us. We have to give up something important to us. Yeah, I don't like you got all these friends, but boy, most of them you rarely talk to. You've already worked through that tension part of it. Fine. I'm going to have such a problem if I make you get rid of people that you don't think have it coming that you may in the short term give them up, but in the long term I'm going to have a bigger problem. So we have to learn to cut a deal. That's the only way you can establish boundaries that work. Does that make sense to y'all? So boundaries, how do we set them? We have to cut a deal. Like the holidays are going to be coming up, and I don't like your mother-in-law. All right, let's cut a deal. What don't you like about my mother-in-law? I like her. I don't like the fact that during the holiday, Thanksgiving, everyone's going to be drinking around the kids. All right. We normally stay there and everybody's drunk and I don't like it. Let's do this, babe. Why don't you get a hotel and I'll catch the Uber home? And after the first or second round, you just go to the hotel. Bet. That's cutting a deal. He's giving up having everybody at the house. She's giving up, okay, we'll go see your mother for Thanksgiving so we don't have bigger problems. And they're cutting a deal. So, anyways, to establish boundaries that work in your marriage, you have to cut a deal. Anyways, this is Dr. Shane. Thanks for sitting with me on this tip. You could use it for the holidays coming up, figuring out how do you cut a deal because we are all going to have very different boundaries. Make it a great day, and I look forward to hearing your comments and seeing you in the community.